Please like and subscribe, and if you would like to donate to my channel, my Cash App information will be in the description. Thank you for watching. Today's video, 5 people who went missing at Smoky Mountain National Park. Case number 1, Dennis Martin, a 6-year-old resident of Knoxville, was visiting the Great Smoky Mountain National Park along with his father, grandfather, and older brother on Father's Day weekend in 1969. The camping trip was a family tradition for the Martin family. The family hiked from Codis Cove to Russell Field and camped overnight. The next day, they hiked to Spencer Field near the trail where they planned to spend the night. Martin disappeared on June 14, 1969. While planning on surprising the adults with his brother and other children from the separate family the Martins were camping with, he was last seen by his father going behind a bush to hide. Intending on surprising the adults with the other children, after not seeing him for about 5 minutes when all the other children had returned to the campsite, his father became concerned and began searching for him. His father ran down the trail for nearly 2 miles until he was sure he couldn't have gotten any further. After several hours, they sought help from National Park Service rangers. The area around Martin's disappearance is marked by steep slopes and wild animals such as copperhead snakes, bears, hogs, and bobcats. A downpour broke out shortly after Martin's disappearance, dropping 3 inches of rain in a matter of hours, which washed out the trail caused by flooding. The search was underway looking for the missing boy. By June 22nd, 56 square feet of miles of ground had been covered. More than 1,000 searchers continued to look until June 26. When the search was cut back, the search was abandoned on June 29th after a last search. The search was officially closed down on September 14, 1969. Dennis Martin has never been found. Born June 20, 1962, disappeared June 14, 1969 at the age of 6. Case number 2, Teresa Gibson. On Friday, October 8, 1976, 16-year-old Teresa Gibson went with 38 of her classmates from Berrien High School in Knoxville, Tennessee on a field trip to the Great Smoky Mountain National Park. The students were hiking around 1.8 miles to Andrews Bald from Kuwaukie and then back on the Ridge Trail that day. Teresa Gibson vanished, never to be seen again. Now I will give background information on Teresa Gibson. 16-year-old Teresa Gibson lived with her mother Hope Gibson and her father Robert Gibson. She also had 3 siblings, 2 brothers, Robert Jr. and Miracle, and a little sister named Tina. Now I will give a description on Teresa Gibson. Height 5'3", 115 pounds, green eyes, long brown hair. Date of birth August 17, 1960. She was last seen wearing a blue blouse, a blue and white striped sweater, a brown plaid heavy jacket, and also wearing Adidas shoes. If you have any information on this case, please contact Great Smoky National Park at 865-463-1200. Case number 3, Thelma Melton. On September 25, 1981, 58-year-old Thelma Melton was headed to Deep Creek Trail in Smoky Mountain National Park. With her husband Bob and 2 friends, she loved the mountain and spent as much time as she could in the Smokies. One of her favorite places was the Deep Creek Trail, and she spent nearly 20 years visiting the location and making the hike. Once they arrived, Bob parked their Airstream trailer and stayed inside due to Bob's health and age. Thelma and her 2 friends gladly went on a hike. The trail they were taking was listed as easy, so there wasn't any difficult terrain to be worried about. Thelma and her friends began hiking the trail, and on her way back to the campsite, she began picking up her pace and walked ahead of her friends. They saw her walk over a small hill and then go out of sight. They assumed they would see her back at the trailer. At about 4:30 p.m. they made it back to the campsite. Bob was inside the trailer, but Thelma was nowhere to be found, and Bob hadn't seen her since she left for the hike. Thelma's friends went back to the area they last saw Thelma, and they began to search for her, but were unable to locate her. She was reported missing at 6 p.m. that evening, and a much larger search party was underway. Over the course of that week, over 150 people searched for Thelma, as well as 9 search dogs. At one point, a dog was alerted, and searchers believe she may have stopped to rest there for a moment. They didn't pick up on her scent at any other location. Not so much as a trace was found of Thelma Melton. Of course, the notion of kidnapping entered the minds of the searchers until they realized that Thelma was a large woman. She was 5'11" and weighed around 180 pounds. Her stature, along with the fact that she disappeared in broad daylight with a number of other people on the trail that day, led authorities to believe that abduction would be out of the question. According to Thelma's day-to-day routine, not much out of the ordinary happened on the day she went missing. The only thing unusual was that she decided against going to the volunteer job she went to every day, passing out meals to the elderly. The day before, however, it was reported that she made several calls using the work phone. She had never used the phone in the 4 years that she'd been volunteering. Law enforcement was unable to trace the calls, so we don't know who she was trying to contact. Probably one of the most intriguing things about this disappearance is that in April 1982, a check was written to Thelma Melton and cashed in Birmingham, Alabama. Now I will give a description on Thelma Melton. Caucasian female, 5'10", 180 pounds, brown eyes, red hair, last seen wearing a pink and white blouse, tan slacks, low-cut tan shoes, and eyeglasses. If you have any information about this case, please contact 888-653-0009. Case number 4, Derek Lueking. On March 15, 2012, 24-year-old Derek Lueking didn't show up for work, and calls to his cell phone went unanswered. When a mutual friend alerted roommate Ryan Molden that Derek hadn't arrived at work that morning, he called Derek's family. The Luekings traveled from their home in Virginia through the night to Tennessee. Ryan and family members checked Derek's computer and found a search for Great Smoky Mountains National Park and a reservation for a hotel. On March 17th, surveillance video showed Derek leaving the inn and suites near the national park in Cherokee, North Carolina. On the bed of the hotel room, his family found a Bible and on the floor a liquor bottle. Derek Lueking, born in Northern Virginia, graduated from Johnson University, formerly known as Johnson Bible College in Knoxville, and also worked as an orderly for a health center. He was believed to be wearing a gray hooded sweatshirt, dark-colored track pants with white stripes on the side of the legs, dark-colored sneakers, and possibly a waterproof watch. He was perhaps carrying a camouflage print rain gear with a black or dark blue book bag. Derek had brown hair with hazel eyes and had a beard at the time of his disappearance. Also, he may have been wearing his prescription eyeglass with metal rims. He also has stretch marks on his lower back with a tattoo on the upper left chest in Chinese or Japanese writing. The search began. The family went out looking for him that same day and by luck found Derek's car, a white Ford Escape, in the parking lot of an area called Newfound Gap on the Tennessee-North Carolina line. Another disturbing clue was a note that Derek had left behind in the car that said, "Do not try and follow me," suggesting that he just wanted to disappear. Earlier that year, Tim Lueking, Derek's father, had noticed a change in his son. He started drinking a little bit and smoking cigarettes, which was highly unusual for him. He wasn't happy with his job, where his life was going. He assumed Derek was dealing with some post-graduation stress and transitioned to adulthood. An intensive search was launched of the area where his car was found, and rangers interviewed campers and hikers in the vicinity, asking if they have seen Derek. Strangely, no one could remember seeing him, despite it being sunny and the area having plenty of people picnicking, hiking, etc. As a result, authorities believe that he may have gone off trail immediately after leaving his car. About 60 people and 3 dog teams were assigned to continue the search for Lueking. The searchers had been organized into 14 search teams that had walked more than 70 miles of the trail surrounding the Newfound Gap parking area where his car was found. The search came up empty and Derek Lueking has never been found. Now I will give a description on Derek Lueking. Caucasian male, 5'11", 220 pounds, green eyes, brown hair with a short beard, at the age of 24 when he went missing. If you have any information about this case, please contact 888-653-0009. Case number 5, William Bradford Bishop. Born August 1st, 1936, is a former United States Foreign Service officer who has been a fugitive from justice since killing his wife, mother, and 3 sons in 1976. On April 10, 2014, the FBI placed him on the 10 most wanted fugitives. On June 27, 2018, Bishop, who at the time would have been 81 years old, was removed from the list. On March 1, 1976, after learning he would not receive the promotion he had sought, Bishop told his secretary that he wasn't feeling well and left his office in Foggy Bottom. His last confirmed sighting was outside the State Department by a colleague, who noted that Bradford Bishop was agitated. Police believe he drove to the bank where he withdrew several $100s, then went to the mall to get accessories. He drove a 1974 Chevrolet station wagon. From there, he drove to a hardware store where he purchased a shovel and a pitchfork. Bishop returned to his home between 7:30 and 8 p.m. That is where he killed his mother, his wife, and his 3 kids. Bishop allegedly drove the bodies in the station wagon to a wooded swamp about 5 miles south of Columbia, North Carolina. On March 2nd, he dug a shallow hole where he piled the bodies and set them on fire. Forest rangers attracted by the smoke found the bodies along with a gas can, a pitchfork, and a shovel. Bishop is known to have purchased tennis shoes at a sporting goods store in Jackson, North Carolina later that same day, according to witnesses. On March 10th, a neighbor of Bishop's contacted the police after having not seen the family for some time. A detective found blood on the front porch of Bishop's residence, on the floor and the walls of the front hall and bathrooms. Dental records were used to confirm that the bodies found in North Carolina were of Bishop's family. On March 18th, Bishop's station wagon was found abandoned at an isolated campground at the Great Smoky Mountains National Park, a few miles from the trail and about 400 miles from the site where Bishop's family was buried. The car contained dog biscuits, a bloody blanket, a shotgun and an axe, and a shaving kit with Bishop's medication. The trunk spare tire was full of blood. A witness believed that the car had been there since maybe March 5th to the 7th. Police theorized that Bishop joined the flow of the hikers on the trail. They attempted to follow his scent with the bloodhounds, but without any success. The following day, a grand jury indicted Bishop on 5 counts of first-degree murder. Still to this day, Brad Bishop has never been found. Now I will give a description on Brad Bishop. Born August 1st, 1936, Caucasian male, brown eyes, brown hair, 6'1", 180 pounds. If you have any information about this case, please contact the FBI at 1-800-225-5324.